Nestle has been quietly buying the water rights to rural American aquifers since 1998, not the surface water, not the rivers, the deep groundwater, the ancient limestone aquifer systems that took 10,000 years of geological filtration to reach the purity levels that make them commercially valuable. By 2022, Nestle and its successor companies had secured extraction permits across 34 American states, withdrawing a combined estimated 1.8 billion gallons of groundwater annually at an average permit cost of less than $200 per year per extraction site. They bottle it, they label it with mountain imagery, they sell it back to the public at $1.20 to $2 per liter from the same aquifer systems that sit beneath the counties where that public lives. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is public record in the permit filing systems of 34 state departments of natural resources. Every extraction volume, every permit fee, every renewal approval, public record, sitting in government archives that nobody told you to look at. Here is what those same archives do not contain. There is no permit application from any of the 11 Old Order Amish families in Wayne County, Ohio, whose properties sit directly above one of the targeted aquifer systems. No extraction permit, no municipal connection fee, no bottled water purchase record, no water bill of any kind going back to 1931 because they do not use the aquifer. They do not use the municipal system. They collect their complete household drinking water supply, 40 gallons per day for a family of 7, from the atmosphere every night, using $6 of salvaged metal and a coating that costs less than a cup of coffee to mix. Nestle knows this system exists. Their hydrogeological survey teams have been mapping Wayne County's water resources since 2009, the same year their North American Extraction Division filed its first permit application for an adjacent county aquifer. 4 years before a water resources researcher named Dr. Mitchell Carver drove to the township of Shreve with his measurement instruments and his skepticism and found something that his doctoral training in hydrology had told him was not possible. He measured it anyway, and what he wrote in his field notebook that afternoon has never appeared in any mainstream water resource publication, any municipal water authority guidance document, or any conversation that Nestle's public relations department has ever chosen to have with the American public. In the summer of 2013, Carver was conducting a rural water access survey across Wayne County for the Ohio Department of Natural Resources when his field assistant flagged an anomaly in the property water source documentation forms collected across Old Order Amish settlements in the eastern portion of the county. The anomaly was not a missing data field. It was a data field that kept appearing with an entry that Carver's standardized survey form had no category to accommodate. The field was labeled primary water source. Across 11 separate Amish properties in a concentrated geographic area near the township of Shreve, the entry was not well, not spring, not municipal, not cistern, and not creek. It was a two-word entry that Carver's field assistant had initially assumed was a language barrier issue and flagged for follow-up clarification. The entry read, air collection. Carver drove to Shreve the following week with his measurement equipment and his skepticism fully intact. He had a doctoral degree in hydrology from Ohio State. He had spent 11 years studying rural water systems across the Midwest. He understood atmospheric moisture dynamics at a level most working hydrologists never reach. And his understanding told him that collecting meaningful quantities of drinking water from atmospheric moisture in Wayne County, Ohio, a continental interior climate with average summer relative humidity between 65 and 80%, using passive collection without refrigeration or electrical condensation equipment was not a viable primary water source strategy. He was wrong. The first property he visited outside Shreve had a collection system mounted on the north-facing exterior wall of the main barn, a series of angled metal panels connected to a clay pipe drainage network, delivering collected water to a covered stone cistern beside the farmhouse foundation. The farmer told Carver the system had been collecting water continuously since his grandfather installed it in 1931. It supplied the household's complete drinking water requirement, approximately 40 gallons per day for a family of 7, through every summer month without supplemental water from any other source. Carver measured the cistern. He measured the collection panel area. He sat with the numbers for a long time before he wrote anything in his field notebook. The system had cost the farmer's grandfather approximately $6 in purchased materials in 1931. If you have ever bought a plastic bottle of water and read the source label, a rural aquifer in a county you have never visited, extracted at $200 per year in permit fees and sold back to you at $2.50 per liter, Subscribe now. Because what Carver found outside Shreve that afternoon is not just a $6 construction project. It is the specific knowledge that makes Nestle's entire North American water extraction business model unnecessary for every rural property owner in the continental United States. It has been sitting in Wayne County, Ohio since 1931. It has been producing clean drinking water from thin air every clear night for 92 years. And the only reason you have never heard of it is the same reason Nestle's permit applications never generate public hearings. Nobody told you to look. What Carver documented belongs to a category of atmospheric water collection technology whose principles have been understood since ancient civilizations of the Middle East built stone surfaces on hillsides to harvest overnight dew. The technology is called passive radiative dew collection, a system that exploits the temperature differential between a radiatively cooled surface and surrounding ambient air to condense atmospheric moisture without any mechanical refrigeration or electrical input. The physics are non-negotiable. When a surface loses heat to the night sky through long-wave infrared radiation faster than it gains heat from surrounding air through convection, its temperature drops below ambient. If that surface temperature drops below the dew point, the temperature at which air's water vapor exceeds saturation, water vapor condenses as liquid dew. The condensed water runs by gravity to a collection point, passive, continuous, free. The surface coating that increases dew collection yield by 34% over bare galvanized steel was not discovered in a university laboratory. It was not developed by a materials scientist with grant funding and specialized equipment. It was documented in a 1947 USDA Rural Water Supply Bulletin titled Atmospheric Moisture Collection Practices in Traditional Agricultural Communities of the Ohio Interior, a publication produced by the USDA's Bureau of Agricultural Engineering following a post-war rural water access survey across 6 Midwestern states. The Wayne County Amish atmospheric collection systems appeared in that bulletin's Ohio section as the most technically refined examples documented across the entire survey area. Nestle's North American Hydrogeological Survey team that mapped Wayne County's aquifer resources beginning in 2009 had access to every USDA publication archive in the federal document system. The 1947 bulletin is cataloged in that system. Its Wayne County findings are documented in its Ohio section with sufficient geographic specificity that any competent survey team working the county would have encountered it. Carver found it in 30 minutes of archive searching after his Shreve field visit. What Nestle's team concluded after finding it, if they found it, is not public record. What is public record is that their adjacent county extraction permit applications continued expanding their projected withdrawal volumes through 2009, 2012, and 2015 without any reference to existing passive collection infrastructure in the target aquifer region. The coating the 1947 bulletin described is a mixture of raw linseed oil and finely powdered hardwood charcoal ground to a particle size fine enough to pass through standard window screen mesh, applied to the upper collection surface of the galvanized steel panels in a thin uniform coat, and cured through oxidative polymerization of the linseed oil over approximately 2 weeks of outdoor exposure before the panels enter service. The mechanism by which this coating increases collection yield operates through 2 simultaneous physical effects that work together to produce a result neither could achieve independently. The first is emissivity enhancement. Bare galvanized steel has a long-wave infrared emissivity of approximately 0.25, meaning it radiates 25% of the theoretical maximum long-wave infrared energy that a perfect radiating surface at the same temperature would emit to the night sky. That 75% deficit represents cooling capacity that the bare steel surface simply cannot access. The charcoal linseed coating raises surface emissivity to approximately 0.92, nearly quadrupling the radiative cooling output of the panel surface under identical atmospheric conditions. A panel radiating at 92% of theoretical maximum reaches a significantly lower equilibrium temperature on a clear night than a panel radiating at 25%. The lower equilibrium temperature produces a larger temperature differential below the dew point threshold, and therefore a higher condensation rate per unit of collection area per hour of clear sky exposure. The second mechanism is surface energy modification. The charcoal linseed surface produces a water contact angle of approximately 15 to 20 degrees, a highly hydrophilic surface characteristic that causes condensing water droplets to spread into thin continuous films rather than beating into discrete droplets. Thin film condensation transfers latent heat from the condensing water vapor to the cold panel surface significantly more efficiently than dropwise condensation, allowing the surface to maintain its sub-dew point temperature and continue condensing water at a high rate rather than warming back above the dew point threshold as condensation latent heat accumulates at droplet contact points. Carver's field measurements confirm the coating's performance advantage with direct comparison data. Two adjacent panels of identical dimensions on the Shreve installation, one original coated panel from the 1931 installation and one bare galvanized replacement panel installed 3 years before his visit, showed a collection yield differential of 31% during his overnight measurement period. The coated panel collected 0.43 gallons per square foot. The uncoated panel collected 0.28 gallons per square foot under identical atmospheric conditions. The 1947 bulletins documented 34% yield advantage falls within the measurement accuracy range of Carver's field instruments relative to his 31% measured differential. The panel mounting angle that maximizes both radiative cooling rate and condensate drainage is the second critical geometric parameter. Radiative cooling rate is maximized by maximizing sky view factor, the geometric proportion of the sky hemisphere from which the panel can radiate. A horizontal panel sees the entire sky hemisphere at a view factor of 1.0. A vertical wall-mounted panel sees approximately 0.5. The Wayne County installations balance these competing requirements at a mounting angle of 22 degrees from horizontal, sufficient tilt for reliable condensate drainage to the collection pipe while maintaining a sky view factor of approximately 0.94. The cistern that stores collected water without chemical treatment uses total darkness and stable sub-60 degree temperature maintained by stone mass and burial depth to prevent the algal and bacterial growth that compromises untreated water quality in above-ground storage. No chlorine, no filtration cartridge, no treatment system of any kind beyond stone darkness and the thermal stability of the earth. The Nestle permit withdrawal that protected the Wayne County aquifer in 2015 was not a victory for the 11 Amish families whose atmospheric collection systems Carver had documented 2 years earlier. It was not even about them. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources objection that triggered the withdrawal cited downstream impact on the Killbuck Creek municipal water intake serving the city of Millersburg, a municipal utility with legal standing, institutional representation, and a water rights attorney on retainer. The 11 Amish families in Shreve Township had none of those things. They had not filed an objection. They had not retained counsel. They had not appeared at any permit hearing because the permit hearing process does not require notification of property owners in the hydrological impact zone who do not hold registered water rights. The Amish families do not hold registered water rights because they do not extract water from the aquifer. You cannot register a right to water you do not take from the ground. The atmospheric collection system that has supplied their households since 1931 draws nothing from the aquifer, generates no extraction record, and therefore confers no legal standing in a permit proceeding whose entire jurisdictional framework is built around the regulation of groundwater extraction. A system that collects water from the air is legally invisible to the water rights regulatory structure. It is invisible to the municipal utility billing system. It is invisible to the bottled water extraction permit process. It is invisible to every institutional mechanism that the commercial water industry uses to map, claim, and monetize freshwater resources across the American interior. That invisibility is not an accident of regulatory oversight. It is the logical consequence of a knowledge system that operates entirely outside the infrastructure that the water industry requires its customers to depend on. You cannot commodify what you cannot measure. You cannot meter what never passes through a pipe you own. The Wayne County dew collection systems have been producing drinking water for 92 years inside a regulatory and commercial blind spot so complete that Nestle's hydrogeological survey team mapped the county's water resources without noting their existence, and a doctoral hydrologist drove to Shreve specifically to prove they could not work. The 2-inch panel spacing detail that extends coating service life from 8 years to the 92 years documented in the original Shreve installation is not a material modification. It is a geometric relationship between adjacent panels in a multi-panel array that the 1931 builder incorporated through observation and that Carver only understood after measuring thermal behavior across 3 consecutive nights of field observation. The 1947 USDA Bulletin documented single-panel installations across most Wayne County properties it surveyed. The Shreve installation is a 7-panel array spanning the full 28-foot width of the north-facing barn wall. The Bulletin's construction guidance specified zero gap between adjacent panels, continuous edge-to-edge contact across the array width. The Shreve installation spaces its panels at 2-inch intervals throughout. On nights where ambient temperature drops below freezing before sunrise, approximately 140 nights per year in Wayne County, the radiatively cooled panel surfaces reach sub-freezing temperatures during peak cooling hours between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. The thin water film condensing on the panel surface freezes in place. The freeze-thaw cycle itself does not damage the charcoal linseed coating. What damages it in zero-gap arrays is differential thermal expansion stress at sunrise. As solar radiation raises panel temperatures from sub-freezing to ambient within approximately 45 minutes each morning, each panel expands along its length. In a zero-gap array, that expansion transmits compressive force between adjacent panels through their contact edges. The force buckles the panel faces microscopically at contact points. After 100 cumulative buckle events across 8 years of 140-night freeze seasons, the accumulated deformation has cracked the coating along every contact edge. Moisture infiltrates, the coating delaminates. Collection yield drops to bare steel performance. The 2-inch gap absorbs each panel's thermal expansion independently. No compressive force transfers between panels at any point in the daily temperature cycle. The original Shreve coating has experienced 600 cumulative freeze-thaw cycles across 92 years and remains adherent and performing within 6% of its documented initial yield. The complete installation sequence for a 7-panel residential dew collection system, built to Shreve specifications, requires salvaged corrugated galvanized steel panels cut to 24 by 48-inch dimensions, charcoal linseed coating prepared and cured for 14 days, steel angle mounting brackets positioned at 22 degrees from horizontal with 2-inch spacing gaps between panel edges, a half-inch clay drainage pipe running along the panel base collecting condensate by gravity, and a 500-gallon fieldstone cistern covered with a fitted stone cap maintaining interior darkness and stable temperature. Total purchase material cost between $4 and $8 in mounting hardware and drainage fittings, panel material from barn roofing salvage at zero cost, coating materials from the farm heating system ash, and 1 gallon of raw linseed oil at approximately $12. Nestle filed 3 additional extraction permit applications in Ohio counties adjacent to Wayne County between 2016 and 2021. All 3 are currently in active review status in the Ohio Department of Natural Resources permit system. None of the permit applications reference the atmospheric collection infrastructure documented in Carver's 2013 survey. None of them are required to. The permit review process has no mechanism for considering water collection systems that do not extract from the aquifer the permit proposes to draw down. The 11 families in Shreve Township are still collecting their water from the air. Their cisterns are full. Their permit applications number 0. Their monthly water bills remain exactly what they have been since 1931. Leave a comment telling us what your current monthly water bill is. That number is the precise dollar value of the knowledge gap this documentary just closed for you. Subscribe now, because our next investigation documents the Amish hand-laid fieldstone drainage system that has kept agricultural land perfectly dry for 150 years without plastic drain tile, without excavation equipment, and without the $8 billion agricultural drainage industry that replaced it, the moment installing a system that lasts forever became less profitable than installing one that needs replacement every 25 years.